Today we are in downtown Denver, Colorado. Sitting across the street from the Capitol building stands the History Colorado Center. It's the headquarters for the State Historical Society, offering immersive exhibits, research center, and artifacts detailing the American West. It was built to replace the Colorado History Museum, which closed in 2010, and this opened in 2012. 200,000 square feet, 4-story building made of glass, limestone, and sustainable Colorado materials like beetle kill pine. Before canvas became common through trade, a standard family-sized teepee required 16 to 20 bison hides. 2 experienced women could erect or dismantle an entire teepee structure in less than 15 minutes, which was crucial for their semi-nomadic tracking of bison herds. History Colorado is the home of John Fielder's Colorado Collection assortment of more than 6,000 photographs, which immortalize the landscapes of nearly every county in the state. So we're going to head up to the 4th floor and we'll work our way down from there. What's Your Story is multimedia highlighting over 100 historical and contemporary Coloradans who have shaped the state and made significant contributions. They recommended me to come up to the 4th floor to start here and work my way down. I think they wanted to, start everybody with this history. So some of it's tough to see, some of the difficult history with the Native Americans, but definitely worth checking out and knowing if you're not aware of some of that history. The Sand Creek Massacre is widely considered the deadliest and most shameful day in Colorado's history. The morning of November 29, 1864, 675-man force of the 3rd Colorado Cavalry launched a brutal, unprovoked attack on a peaceful village of Cheyenne and Arapaho people. The cavalry murdered over 230 Native Americans, roughly 2/3 of whom were women, children, and elders. Developed over 10 years in close consultation with the descendants of the survivors, the exhibit intentionally centers on tribal perspectives and oral histories rather than colonial records. So as someone who isn't connected with this, even though Fort Wise there, it's not any of my relation, but if someone's not connected with this, I didn't grow up in this part of the area or this part of the country, it is pretty interesting to learn about, multiple perspectives. And so I'm always willing to learn and learn from different perspectives. So I thought this was a pretty interesting part of the museum. Good place to start. There's still cottonwood trees lining the creek where the 1864 massacre occurred, known as witness trees. It's a pretty interesting exhibit here. Sometimes it's best not to say anything during those exhibits. Beginning in the 1970s, Southeast and East Asian refugees and immigrants transformed a pocket of Denver into a vibrant hub of culture, commerce, called Little Saigon. This exhibit shows the experiences and memories that made the neighborhood unique. There's so much here. You could spend, obviously, an entire day if you wanted to really get detailed, but we're just getting started here. Almost felt like this was hidden over here behind the door. The Ute people are Colorado's longest continuous residents. This exhibit uses gorgeous photography and contemporary video showing how Ute people have adapted and persevered through the centuries. You see the tragic loss of Ute homelands and witness efforts to keep Ute culture and language alive today. Like that logo on the football helmet. Pretty cool. Gonna head down to the third floor now. Along the walls here, they have all kinds of history. So each floor on the walls, they continue to have almost like, extra things they couldn't fit into other parts of the museum, it just seems like. So I like that they used every part of the museum. Even the walls. Now we're going to zoom in to an exhibit that has 100 stories to tell, culled from the vast collections of History Colorado. Every object on view had a role in shaping the state, from the age of the Paleo-Indians to Jack Swiggert's Apollo 13 flight suit and beyond. This was definitely one of my favorite exhibits at the museum. Just a little bit of everything. So the 1976 Olympics there, pretty interesting, the Winter Olympics. I didn't know this, but Denver was actually awarded the Winter Olympics in 1976. And then eventually they decided not to have them because they, in hindsight, didn't think they had the infrastructure. And so it's the only city in the history of the world that was awarded an Olympic Games and then turned it down. I did not know that until I got to this museum. I always love seeing the voting boxes for the, old counties. It's pretty great. Like I said, just a little bit of everything here. So no matter what you might be interested, you'll probably find something of interest. And once again, so much information, different towns, ghost towns, different cultures and heritages. Like, man, Colorado is such a diverse state, and a lot of ways. Alright, we're going to head down to the second floor. Colorado Stories is a community-based suite of exhibits with media and artifact-rich galleries exploring the many ways Coloradans have created community. And if you're wondering, where's all like the Wild West stuff? Well, it's coming up, but there's a lot of history about Colorado that needs to be told all throughout these different floors. And you'll find every once in a while there is kind of a movie or film you can watch, different parts of the museum. And look at that downtown with all the neon signs. I love it. So you notice the original neon sign to Sid King's Club. Sid King's Crazy Horse Bar was a legendary strip club in Denver, Colorado, operating in the 1940s to the 80s. Featured old-fashioned burlesque, slapstick comedy, and Denver's only revolving bar. Fun fact for you. Captain Carl Howelson was a winner of major skiing championships in his native Norway. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1905 and played a large role in the development of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, for competitive and recreational skiing. People probably know about Steamboat Springs, and there's one of the guys that developed it. Colorado is the 38th state, admitted in 1876, and there's a version of the flag. I've seen different versions, and that's an unusual one. The stars aren't really lined up, and I've seen some where they are more lined up. I really love this diorama of Denver. Depicts the emerging town as it looked in 1860. Featured 350 miniature structures, cabins, frames, brick buildings, tents, bridges, outhouses, saloons, hotels, theaters, and an encampment of Arapaho people. Reminds me of some of the old, like the model train museums, and similar size in a lot of ways. Now we're getting into some of the early days of Denver and more the Boomtown days here after the discovery of gold. Really like this display of the barracks, what it was like. Really like this display of some of the barracks of what it might have been like to live back then when they were mining that gold. So the Sunnyside mine is one of the most, I guess you say, valuable mines in Colorado. I actually did my video about San Juan County, and I went to Eureka, which is where the Sunnyside mine was. And so this is a really cool exhibit, what it's like to be in the mine. Not exactly, obviously a lot harsher, but for a museum like this, they did a really good job. Sometimes these museums have so much stuff in them that it's almost overwhelming. It's like you got to almost pick and choose what you really want to dive into. But that's a good museum that's got more than you want, leaves you wanting to come back over and over again. Some more prints from John Fielder's Colorado collection. Made an intentional effort to cover landscapes in every county of Colorado. That's pretty cool. I like going to all the different counties as much as I can, exploring them. It's interesting to see it from one side of the state to the other. Colorado, especially like northeast Colorado to southwest Colorado, it's like you're on, different planets almost. And I did a tour of the Colorado State Capitol, and I feel like they could have taken some of the work from John Fielder's collection and really spruced up the Capitol. It's a really nice Capitol, but doesn't have a lot of local art in it as much as I thought it should. It's a pretty neat exhibit. Gives reasons why people choose to live in Colorado.
I came to the Colorado mountains to live in a small town where I can ski and hike out my back door.
They have these characters kind of talk throughout this section of the museum. So as you're walking through, you'll hear them different times. They'll tell you all about different parts of the history of Colorado here. So we're talking about the Dust Bowl here, and I've talked about that a lot in my videos, and I had no idea, but they have a kind of Dust Bowl simulator in that building right there. Obviously, they have a lot of other information here about the Dust Bowl. It's just such a tough time, and people don't think of Colorado that much with it. But in this room, it kind of talks about it. Yeah, some of the southeastern parts of the state were really hit pretty hard. Baca County had some towns in the 10 smallest towns of Colorado video that I did.
April 14th. I had got up, and it was a beautiful day.
The day had been one of the better ones in a long time. Warm, clear sky, soft, gentle breeze.
And just by droves.
Rosie, come on back to the house.
Just a solid wall of dark, boiling, rolling, twisting clouds of dirt.
A lot of them thought the world was coming to an end.
That's no rain cloud. Hurry, get inside.
We shut the door and bolted it just as a thing hit the front. It just devastated things. For some people who had open field around their
Just can't imagine what it was like to live through the Dust Bowl. Yeah. So back down to the first floor, and this is some like old school and general store, late 1800s, early 1900s. When you go see some small town museums, you see a lot of things like this, so it's good that they included this in the museum. So like I said, a little bit of something for everyone. I always enjoy a little bit of the old Western history here. You can sit in this Model T Ford and view a projector screen in front of you. This drives through some pretty rugged Colorado terrain. I wasn't working when I was there, but I did a trek through the San Juan County that was been plenty rugged. So if you want to see some of that, feel free to check out that video. There's a lot of towns out there in Colorado look like that in some of my adventures that I took around this time. Colorado is a very fun Colorado is a very fun state to explore, and like I've said a couple times, it just has a little bit of everything. So what it would be like maybe living in a really nice house, a nice homestead there. Just have a sit and watch the sunset. The outhouse was not in working order today. And then there's the barn. Obviously some interactive areas for kids, so kind of fun to be around the animals here. So there's another 38-star flag, a little bit different than the one I showed you earlier. So some of them almost felt like they were homemade. You know, they were adding states so much that, you know, they had to keep changing the flag. So final exhibit is down in the bottom level called Moments That Made Us. This feature exhibition showcases 50 pivotal nation-shaping artifacts and events from native communities in 1200 to Spanish colonization in 1776 all the way to current events. This was a pretty cool way to end the museum tour. You know, Colorado was established in 1876, 100 years into our country's history. And obviously, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary, it's the 150th anniversary for Colorado. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'd recommend coming here. You know, it's a really well done museum. They put a lot of hard work and time into this museum. And like I've said, there is something for everyone. And it's a lot. It's a big museum. Obviously, being in downtown Denver and the state of Colorado, it's kind of like the official museum of everything with the history of Colorado, so they got to include everything. And so I would make multiple trips probably if I lived in Colorado or if I lived in Denver. But great museum, always, you know, very affordable, and they got a nice gift shop too if you want to get some merch on your way out the door. But highly recommended to visit the History Colorado Center here in Denver.